Good evening. Hi, guys. How we doing? Testing. Everyone alive?
No. Only us dead people.
Well, that sounds apropos, considering, kindred and all. How was everyone's day?
Pretty productive. I went and did laundry, and got some stuff outside of the house done. Not that it was all that easy, because I was feeling kind of poop today. I think I'm coming down with an ear infection again. I stay getting fucking ear infections. It's been raining up here, like, off and on the past couple days, so I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Plus, my immune system is just shitty in general. But I'm fighting it, and probably gonna get myself some tea at some point during the break. But I am here. And I'm still thinking about what you told me. Especially after this morning. I was like, oh my god, it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. Welcome.
I mean, you muted the other server right now, but did you see my last post in Dalton?
Yes, I did.
Is that plausible, or would it have burned down by the time she did all that?
What, you mean the room? There's not much there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know it wasn't all that furnished in the first place because it's a kink club, but you said it's like paper mache, so she was trying to keep it from spreading. If they lose that one room, then they can always replace it and work on fixing it. But she didn't want to lose the whole club, so one-man fire brigade.
Hey, I saved you and the city. You're welcome.
Yes.
Like I missed something as I had my headphones off talking to the child.
Me and Lucio's player, and of course nobody, are in the Dalton game together, and we play different characters, obviously, there. But in the Dalton game, I am a club owner / baron type toreador, fairly fancy person, and they had a series of mishaps, if you would like to say that. They were supposed to go to this thing called a dog fight. Toreadors apparently sometimes have. And basically, you don't actually bring a dog, you bring a person.
Yeah.
And they went through all this trouble to get this quote-unquote dog. And shit was going down. They save it from jumping off the roof, and they bring it back to the club, and it attacked somebody else that they had at the club, and that person or persons killed him. And then it created a Moses-style plague of scarab beetles pouring out of the body and attacking anybody in the room.
As it turns out, that's why this guy was so insane and insanely strong.
Because they're gold scarab beetles, by the way. And
so my character reacted the only logical way that one would in this situation and decided to kill it with fire.
I was about to say burn it with fire.
Yes.
He made a homemade homemade like flamethrower and firebombed one of the tunnels and the room that the scarabs were in. But the problem with that whole situation is there were two of the coterie members inside the room at the same time. So we don't know what happened with them yet. They might be a little toasty, but the scarabs are dead, and then we had to put the fire out, so my poor beleaguered character was kind of, I guess, by herself and using fleetness to fill up giant buckets of water and try to put the fire out. So yeah, that was what, Friday?
It's amazing.
Oh Lord.
Just remember that everything that is well ends well. That is how that quote goes, right?
Don't forget, I need fingers.
Not also the fact that we made a enemy of a certain fairly powerful Shimichi.
You know, it's fine. But I can tell you a story about how stupid my stupid cat is.
I would love to hear this.
This cat, he had his front half in the litter box, digging, back half hanging out. I've got like a little rug in front of the litter box so that when they jump out, the litter doesn't go everywhere. He had his back half on that, and that is where he peed. Yep.
Wow. I'm sorry to say there's no nice way to put this. Your cat is stupid.
Yes, he is. He's a very special thing.
But he loves you in the way that cats can love.
He thinks he's a dog sometimes.
Well,
He's
that
not
was
smart enough to have other emotions.
I have one of those. One of the boy, he's a long hair. And
This one's long hair. Yeah.
he is a fucking cat running dog software, I swear.
I got a UV light to try to figure out where in the litter box area pee on the floor was, because with the other cat's urinary tract problems, kidney problems, her peeing on the floor meant that he was peeing on the floor, so trying to get all of that cleaned up, enzyme and whatnot. And the male cat, the one that I was telling you about that is special, comes through and he looks up at me and his little nose is glowing. How did you get pee on your nose? Just
there are some questions you probably shouldn't ask, because no matter
that's
what.
probably one of them, but still.
That's not even the worst part. The worst part is there was a splash of pee literally 4 foot up the wall.
What?
Yeah.
Ow!
I don't know.
That's what I said. At my age, I don't even think I could have peed 4 feet up the wall.
It's aim, trust me, I've seen it. With mine, he's like aiming and I think they're squeezing their little cheeks or something.
Okay, you need to start installing cameras to watch these cats, because there's no way, unless they're doing like some weird cat gymnastics, that they'd be able to accomplish that.
I don't doubt it, because I've seen it. Okay, the reason I think that it's possible is because the one that I was telling you guys about that matches hers, what he's done before is he's put himself in the litter box, but then he's literally backed himself up to the fact of his back feet being on the rim of the litter box, lifting his ass end slightly higher than his front end. And then he'll start peeing. So of course, anything behind it is going to get sprayed.
Times like this are why I'm glad I'm a dog person. We don't have problems with them.
Exempt.
I have not had a dog that has peed on the wall.
I love dogs. If we had space, I would prefer having dogs instead of cats, but they like cats better.
I am definitely a dog person as force of habit and years of experience. But yeah, definitely. My sister was a cat person, so I know that they can be weird.
Special.
Yeah, they can. There was this is a horrible story. Not because there was anything bad that happened. It's just one of the many reasons why I'm a dog person. Back at my youngest sister's birth, she's 5 years younger than me. We all get back from the hospital. The cat, sensing a new person in the household, they'd been prone to hopping up on the counter before, and that was always a no-no. So they hop up on the counter. First, they wait and growl. When no one comes immediately running into the kitchen to shoo them off the counter, they decide to scratch up the bread. Now this is, a one-time occurrence. Everyone's okay with it. So my old man runs out, gets more bread. We put it back on the table, keep the cat off the counter. The moment that the new bread is there, the cat hops up onto the counter and begins to attempt to attack the bread. My old man, thinking that he's faster and that the cat will stop, immediately runs to the bread and tries to remove the bread. The cat did not stop attacking the bread, even though my old man removed it from the counter, and as such continued attacking my old man. His entire left arm was a mass of scratches that didn't open, down to the white part of the skin, 3 layers down. It didn't open right away, so simple cat scratch, and it is what it is. Put the bread into the shelf, and as he turns away from the bread, his left arm begins to slide open the places that the cat's claws touched, and he was in the hospital for a week. So,
hey.
Yeah, so that's one of the many reasons why I'm not really a cat person, but,
Go ahead.
I have an X scar on my hand from giving the cat the antibiotics a month ago.
Yeah. They can be extraordinarily dangerous.
You can't see them anymore, but underneath the tattoo that I have on my right arm, I have what I affectionately referred to as my self-harm marks, because I was holding my cat. I was, maybe 9, and he just decided he was done, ready to jump down, not a problem. So I let him go, but his back claw caught my arm. So I have 2 that go across the wrist and 2 lines that go up the arm. Yeah, some of those were awkward conversations.
No, it's okay. You're in a safe place. You can tell us what your parents did to you or what you did to yourself. It is quite all right. Trust us. We are here for you. We're only trying to help you.
Aw.
Yeah.
There's no help for me.
I have had several, unfortunately, awkward conversations with people that, literally took me telling them as a child, it's none of your business, as me being rude. It's none of your business because I was a clumsy-ish child, more reckless than actual clumsy.
Right.
But it was definitely them getting offended. It's none of your business. Miss Walker, your son has repeatedly told the school counselor that it was none of their business instead of talking about their issues. He doesn't have any issues. He fell out of a tree and he is embarrassed, so it's none of your business.
Right.
Not making light of those who need those services, but that was not something that was in my household. So, I am very, very happy that you all are here. I'm very, very happy that we get a chance to play. We have touched on and danced with all manner of hinted at dark subject matter. We have toyed with the essence of the human darkness. We have toyed with the essence of supernatural darkness and the myriad of things that exist outside of our world and outside of our notice. Our last episode didn't toy with that faction. It dived feet first into the eddying whirlpool of that darkness. In that moment, in those moments, in that sacrifice, there was no small amount of inherent darkness, because at its core issues, the coterie, for their immediate, temporary, future good, were willing to sacrifice an innocent soul and that carried with it consequences. And there's a weight there that is inherent. I want to make sure that we are all in the best place possible when moving forward, because there is it's one of those situations of Murphy's Law when it comes to compounding things that get darker over time. The moment that you hit rock bottom, you realize that there is another layer. You can continue digging if you so choose, or you can make that Herculean effort to climb up out of that pit, up out of that darkness, to try to find even that small glimmering, ephemeral hint of light. And that's where the coterie is. They have crossed a line that there is no surety that they might come back from. And with that realization, with that sitting bare before us and before our characters, I'd like to say this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 13, Episode 3. Somewhere, everywhere you go. And when
I thought this was season 14.
Did I say 14? Did I misspeak? I didn't say season 14. Forgive me. Because this is in fact season 14. And this is in fact episode 3. Somewhere, everywhere you go. Knowing where we last left our coterie, knowing what lay before them, the question in the moment is, where is everyone's hunger? Where is everyone's beast? Because as the heart of their sacrifice stops beating, as the weight of 3 nickels immediately dissipates, 21 grams suddenly ceases to be in their being. The weight, or the believed weight, of the human soul, as their muscles begin to slowly lock into place, as the light that existed in their eyes begins to fade to nothingness. What does everyone's beast say in this moment?
Lucio's hunger is at 2. And I believe he, if I remember correctly, he left the car at the end of the last session.
Yes, he walked away. And Sophia is also at 2. And she did not walk away.
Miriam is at 1, but she stayed in the car.
I believe she's at 1, and she was outside with Sophia.
Even with the catalyst and how wrong that feels to have done so, even with the catalyst of it being such a heavy moment, there is a magic that is undeniable. Upon the exsanguination of life, there is an equivalent supernatural, spiritual, nuclear bomb going off. The shroud, the veil between this world and all of those that lay abutting it, is more than torn normally. Normally, it is a unveiling of all of the potentialities of all of the many souls. And while there were many being drawn to the area in preparation of what is happening, what has happened, what will always happen in this moment, because time, its linear nature, is solely a construct of our minds. It's all time, like all space, exists concurrently. It's a flat circle. It is always where it is, even if you haven't gotten there yet. So the souls, the spirits, those never born, those who had once, those that hadn't once been in this world of ours, know what this moment was. And so they gathered around, and while in several different 100 variabilities of this moment, the shroud was torn, there was an unleashing of that energy, of that power that they could feed on and remain in existence longer. In this instance, in this moment, in this reality of where we are, that release of power causes the floodgates to slam shut. Those being stuck halfway in, halfway out, loitering around the entranceway that this tear in reality had been, are crushed, ground into nothingness, snuffed out like a flame. Those who had chosen one side of the veil or the other are now trapped as they were on one side of the veil or the other. Those never were, once had been souls stuck in this side of that consecrated space, exist here in this moment for the first time in several centuries, decades, generations, days, weeks. And those who had never been for the first time are bound to the skin lens. Those of you with Sense the Unseen and Oblivion Sight up are unfortunately privy to the panic and the terror and the realities that there's even despair for the dead. There's even despair for the things that don't have access to a semblance of life. And that despair fills the space. And as they fade and snuff and die again for the final time, for the last and final forever, the magic of that, the sealing of that, all of those unspoken prayers causes the area to immediately begin trying to expel Hestia, causes those spirits who are baneful and odious to need to flee this area.
She kind of expected that this was going to happen, knowing what they were up to and what they were planning on doing. So that forcible push to leave is being listened to. She's heading for the car. She's also kind of looking back over her shoulder to see if Alexa's going to follow, but at the same time, she is heading for the car at a good clip.
Sophia, you've seen Hestia be emotional. You've seen Hestia overwrought with all of the many things that you all dance with, all of the many devils you dance to the tune of. You've never seen the Vitae be as bright. You've never seen their tears be so deeply staining the air to take on the hint of their salty Vitae-tinged tears. And you've also never been at a actual consecration, let alone cause it to slam into place. The number of souls once living and never living, abounding, trying to find a way out, trying to find a way to continue existing, is the equivalent of being the only sane person in an asylum filled with lunatics with no doors. You are able to see the chaos spread and multiply. You're able to see them begin devouring one another in an effort to maintain a semblance of existence. You are able to see warfare on a level that has only been hinted at. You've never been privy to it. You know that such things happen. There are legionnaires of the dead, but you've never seen it happen. You've never felt it happen, and you are privy to that.
You know, for most people, this would probably be a horrifying, tragic event to watch unfold. But Sophia was born and raised as a Rossellini. So I think this is the first time that momentarily she lets her little facade crack and just grins.
A small little grin in the middle of all of this invisible, unseen chaos. And while you're sure that Silvio himself is not able to view what is happening, being so close and so touched by it, it's clear that he's aware of something. There's a small reticence. He doesn't go slapping leather to draw free, but it is clear that he's keeping watch as if he is aware that there may be snipers or otherwise aiming for you, that there's danger afoot, even though he can't pinpoint where it might be coming from or what it might be.
And what has happened to Alexa?
Oh, that is the horrible reality of it all. She's slowly beginning to sit up, her dead eyes blinking away the dust that naturally occurs, her fingers touching her face as she takes in the physicality that she is now residing within, the looking between the backside of Hestia as she moves toward the car quickly, the taking in of that small devious smirk on Sophia's face, the look of danger that is Silvio. He's a huge, brusque man who looks as if he would not mind if someone were to splatter the content of someone's brain all over him. He'd be just as fine as if he had spilled his beer. And then they look towards Lucio, who is yards away and continuing to walk as the doors between this world and the next slam close, as the space is once more consecrated towards its original purpose, or at least the purpose that it had been previously. And speaking of the retreating form of Lucio, what's your humanity?
A measly 6.
Oh, that is not measly at all. You're better than half. 5 is average. It's dead smack in the middle. At 6, you are inherently connected with the idea of your humanity. Not the truth of it, because humans can in fact be quite cruel to one another and to themselves. But you are connected with the idea of what that means. You are still very much aware as to which lines you will not step over. You are still aware as to what it means to indulge in those darker, easier aspects of one's persona. And as all the air in the area is pulled away from you, as the consecration actually follows through and the hole that was torn has been sealed with a city's worth of energy released all at once, there is a realization that falls over you that is hard to put a finger on. It is an impossibility, but you feel it in every portion of your being. You feel that pressure, that expectation. You feel as if a portion of you is filled, or more accurately bombarded with light, as if you were in the way of a massive speaker that was overcharged and sent a wave of force out into the crowd. It doesn't stumble you because you're literally that strong. It doesn't drive you to your knees. It doesn't cause you any actual sense of falling, but for a moment it feels as if you're hit with the largest vertical wave that has ever existed in your knowledge of such a thing. And it is unexplainably overwhelming. There are no actual words that would wholly encompass what hits you, what washes over you, what immediately leaves the darkness that is you. But you feel it. You grasp it. And almost in counterpoint to Sophia smirking, understanding of what the coterie has reaped, where does that place Lucia?
He can't believe what they've just done and what they were willing to do. And the worst part of it all is that he can't help but blame himself for not stopping it. And now it's too late. They just murdered an innocent, all for what exactly?
Power, safety, another kindred, a life for a life. Their idea of what the greater good means in that moment and what it takes to do it, you kind of admire the drive, the determination, the focus, the indomitable will necessary to snuff out a life for another, or better yet, to snuff out a life for the power that would be yours to wield in the doing. But all the recriminations aside, they are back there. You, still yards away, are on someone else's property, are in someone else's domain. You are outside of the safe, comfortable boundaries of Chicago. You are outside of the prince's will. And have been for quite some time. And like all things done in the dark, they will eventually come to light. Some things sooner than others. Like setting off a thermonuclear device or its equivalent, mystically.
The bill comes due eventually, as they say.
And speaking of bills and their due date, watching from the safety and security of the coffin that is the vehicle that you all have utilized as your own, Miriam, there's the immediate sense of movement, of knowing that your uncle has put this together for you, knowing that the pretty red dress that you are wearing pleases him, grants you a skill and a focus that allows the judges to be amazed by your inherent talent. Yes, the dream, the vision, the fantasy that you've had, because kindred don't dream. They don't have access to that. They don't need it. They don't sleep. So there's no, they die for the day and it will resurrect themselves with no time having passed for them. This is understood. This is a known quantity. This is your unlife, your immortality, the absence of dreams, the absence of that fantasy life designed to help one come to grips with all of the many stressors of their day. Yet, you know how soft that red dress was. You know how proud you were having your uncle's attention. And unlike all of your memories of that moment, of that dream, of that instance, as the fleeting glimpses of it settle over you, as you distract yourself with that moment, giving a bit of yourself to that moment to escape this one, where you are party to. You aided and abetted beforehand and after the extinguishing of an innocent life. You know that sitting there amongst the judges, just behind their heads, previously unseen to you, is the painted lady herself in all of her grotesque glory, her skin being the tapestry of the damned that it was, the artistry and skill of each of those tattoos being able to be applied and last in immortality, there emblazoned upon her skin, watching hungrily as you dance for the judges. Her quick, flitting eyes cutting to your uncle, who was waiting in the wings. Her appraisal of your skill and musculature, seeming all too like a cook inspecting the calf for the slaughter. All too like the sole person responsible, the single adult in the room, who is cognizantly aware as to what horrors will befall the dancer in red.
I guess Miriam will just kind of embrace the fantasy. She's not a stranger to death. I mean, she, for all intents and purposes, was a doctor. She's been through, points where she maybe killed a patient, though not necessarily intentionally, just because she was inexperienced and didn't know what she was doing. So by getting lost in the fantasy, she can also kind of escape those memories as well.
No good deed goes unpunished, and no evil deed goes unrewarded. Unfortunately, a reward to some is a punishment to others. And as you all are in the moment, taking in what you've wrought, what you've allowed to be done, what you all have individually and together have brought into the world. Alexa stands up as if she's being piloted by someone or something that is not there. The dead blue eyes that sit there in her face have a slight green cast to them that they have never held before. The skin of her being is not flushed with any semblance of a tan. And she rolls her shoulders, the bones in them actually cracking. Not the cartilage, not the release of gas. You hear the bones break. And then she sits back up, her spine clearly not aligned as it once was. Her shoulders hunching forward. A crouching and slight bending of her knees and her hips, taking on the semblance of something that is not accustomed to walking bipedally, but has the ability to do so. There's no snarling, there's a resting and an honest, earnest consideration as to how much force would be necessary to, well, cause harm to befall those victims nearest at hand. Miriam, would you be so kind as to give an example here to see how successful you are? Roll your wits and awareness. If you fail a DC 3, this being has a first opportunity of attack.
That seems like I should go with a willpower on that. That's better.
Willpower to save the day, or at least to save the moment. You are exactly one action ahead of whatever this thing is. It is the closest to Sophia and Silvio. Sophia being undead and Silvio being a ghoul, but still very much mortal. Hestia is halfway between this thing and the car, and Lucio is the opposite side of this thing. What is it that Miriam, in their days, in their slight step aside, being able to glimpse and glimmer what may happen, it has every intentions of attacking the first target of opportunity. What is it that Miriam does?
Let's see. I will throw open the car door and yell at everyone to get out of the way.
You all hear this, depriving it of the initial sneak attack. What is it that you all are attempting to do?
Cassie would pause for a second and look back over their shoulder to see why Miriam was shouting this. Does she notice the green eyes right away?
This is too far for the green eyes, but she is definitely aware that that is not how Alexa stands.
Oh, fuck! It's not Alexa. It's not Alexa. Fuck. Looking back at Sophia and Silvio. Didn't come back in the right body, and we don't want this one. I know we just brought it back, but I'm pretty sure we should stake it. Or shoot it.
Silvio, could you be a dear? I need to harvest some fingers.
I will allow you to roll for Silvio. It is a total die pool of 7. And while that's happening, Lucio, seeing this happen, what is it that you're attempting to do?
So, Lucius, is this thing in the car or is it out of the car right now?
Everyone's outside of the car right now, except for Miriam, who's standing in the open doorway yelling. And Hestia halfway between the door and where Silvio, Sophia, and this body is.
Okay, so then in that case, Lucio clearly understands something is wrong then.
If Silvio could spend willpower, which he would choose to do because he had a poor roll to begin with, he does really well.
Excellent. Lucio.
His way over after hearing the commotion to see if he can prevent whatever this thing is now from attacking anyone else. If necessary, to physically restrain it.
Oh, it's way past necessary.
Time to physically restrain it, and he is going to... Yeah, when it comes to supernatural things possessing bodies, he's not taking a chance. He's going to throw up his prowess. He gets a...
Oh, yes. But the void doesn't speak through you. The oblivion doesn't take a portion of your soul or mark it for future collection, which is a benefit to you, right?
That is, but he's also going to rouse his, or blood surge his strength as a additional precaution, because I don't know how strong this thing is. For all I know, it could be twice the monster Forcipules was.
Emotionally, definitely. Physically, probably not so much.
Alright. We're rolling to restrain this thing. Hello?
Yes. Waiting for your strength and brawn roll.
I would like to use a willpower.
I can understand that. Willpower well spent. All right, so
It's the curse of inverse dice pools, I call it. Anytime I roll a massive dice pool, I will get every time 1 or 2 successes, and then I roll something that's only like 2 or 3 dice,
massive,
and I'll get a critical.
yes. It is fate conspiring, as is always one of the many things that fate does, besides twisting the blade, is laughing quite raucously in a full stomach moving, lung evacuating laugh. And as Silvio leaps to the fore to collect those much needed fingers, snippy snip snip snip, Lucio smashes against the body as the voice screams, "No, not!" And snip, one finger goes flying as it flings Lucio towards the vehicle with all due aim, as if it is purposefully or had every intentions of ensuring that Hestia was hit. Being as it is a flying Lucio, Hestia, would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity athletics as Silvio makes short work of planting snippety snip, 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 snip. Because after all, while guns are great, they're great traumatic damage. They don't put down undead things the same way as cutting off limbs, particularly the head, the arms, and what have you. The DC was 4, but roll as high as you possibly can with a +1, Hestia. If you choose to try to dodge, you don't have to. You can try to catch, which would be a strength plus athletics if you so chose, to try to catch Lucio out of the air instead of allowing him to bowl you over as if you're the 10 pin.
Okay, you said dexterity and what?
Athletics if you're attempting to dodge. Give me one quick second. I can't. I need to grab a quick drink. I'm out. Be right back.
Me too.
Oh, I can't drink that.
And once more for our studio audience, our episode brought to you today by Vita Coco. Yes, delicious.
This episode of Soup City Sins is brought to you by water. Water, the essential component of all life.
This is the world of darkness, so it's not only quite water, it's dihydroxide.
I mean, I'm just basic with a Diet Coke.
So, in the era of all of fate's comedic twisting, the mortal, the ghoul, the second stringer, the far south to you all's varsity, manages to inflict a grievous wound to the undead body that once housed Alexa and now is housing some other soul that is screaming in a very feminine voice. It is not Alexa's voice. There's no hint of any Hispanic heritage or Latinx understanding or anything that is remotely non-bland, non-middle of the road, non-flavored in any way possible. There's not even a good old-fashioned Midwestern ope in there. There is merely a slightly older Northern Atlantic, middle of nowhere hint to the voice as it screams, "No, I joke," and snip, off goes a limb as Silvio presses his advantage, drawing her back. And the sheer maliciousness of her attempt to fling Lucio into Hestia speaks volumes. Or it would if someone would notice such things. Such pettiness, such peevish childishness amidst the North Mid-Atlantic accent spewing forth.
Does it ring a bell for her?
Several. As Lucio rings Hestia's bell, and they go tumbling. Limb, entangling limb, tumbling like a Neo Diamond song. Hands, touching hands, reaching out. As the asphalt beneath your feet rises up, it smacks you all with enough force to leave bruises even upon the undead. So as Lucio and Hestia tumble, as Silvio presses the advantage of his very large knife designed to put an end to this madness, and Miriam standing in the doorway with the car door open, watching all of this happen, and Sophia watching as Silvio impresses upon the world that, of all things to do, never trust a large ghoul with a knife. What is it that everyone is doing? Oh, and by the way, being as you've missed by 1, that's a total of 5 points of superficial that you and Lucio are taking as you tumble with the force of being thrown that far.
I just want to be clear. When you say 5 points, is that after having or before having?
Always before having.
Silvio, what are you doing? You get the monster. I can cut fingers. Jesus.
He is clearly trying to decapitate the defending body, and in the process, did manage to, sever most of the forearm as he threw his hand up to block the attack.
Okay, so you said that Hestia has heard this tone and somewhat voice before. It's hitting a familiar note. I'm guessing Sunshade, it sounds a little like to me, but could be wrong.
Lucio hears the voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it sound like the girl that they killed?
No, does not sound like the innocent that they divested of their continued existence. Oh no. Now, fate is cruel. I don't know if it's that cruel.
Even the world of darkness has standards. Alright, with that in mind, Lucio is going to try and tackle it to the ground once again.
Alright. Untangling himself from Hestia, he charges once more at the fleeing, backing away former corpse, former house for Alexa. What is Silvio and Sophia doing? What is Miriam doing? And what is Hestia doing?
Miriam is going to hop into the front seat and start the car.
Excellent. We like vehicles. Nothing can go wrong. It'll be perfectly fine. Perfectly silky smooth. You got this.
I mean, just wait until you find out what I'm going to do with the car. It's fine.
Sophia will harvest fingers unless I already have 2 or 3, in which case I will do something else.
Well, most of this forearm is severed, which means that the fingers are hanging on by there. So you all could work together to tackle the creature, to hold the creature down so that you can harvest them while they're still fighting, kicking and screaming and saying, wait!
Oh, I meant the person I just murdered, the sacrifice.
Well, in that case,
her fingers.
Well, that's a 0 challenge because they're not going anywhere. They unfortunately didn't get the opportunity of being a Lazarine in the moment. Fire away at will.
All right, well, harvest some fingers.
Disgusting. Have at it. The innocent corpse being divested of its limbs.
They don't need it anymore.
Hess is going to try to get to their feet, and being low to the ground, that should be relatively easy. Kind of roll up onto her feet and focusing on the sound of that voice. And despite the repulsion of getting off this land, she's going to walk towards the creature that used to be Alexa and ask it, why should we wait? Who are you?
Excellent. So would you be so kind as to go ahead deduct one superficial willpower point. And while you're, are you attempting to intimidate, cajole, or coerce? Or are you holding a simple conversation? You're not trying to instill anything.
I have a weird question. I have a specialty in vessels or persuasion. Does this count because it's technically Alexa's body with something else in it?
It is finding vessels to divest of blood.
Darn it. It's mostly just like a regular conversation, like curiosity. Not threatening, not cajoling, like, hey, you said wait. Tell me why I need to wait then.
And while Hesher's doing this, what are you all doing? And what is Silvio doing? Sophia has her fingers. Lucio is attempting to tackle the beast. What is it that you all are otherwise doing?
Is there a piece of wood nearby?
Not in a church parking lot. However, I'm sure you all could make something happen.
I mean, trees, right?
Yeah, that's more than Sophia's going to be able to muster.
Well, it depends on how long it takes Miriam to get to the front seat and get the car turned on.
You also, I think, still might have her sacrificial blade, which also tends to work as well as wood.
I do have your sacrificial blade, but I do not know that.
Alright, that being the case, being in the front seat, Miriam, what is it that you're doing? Lucia, would you be so kind of go ahead and roll your strength and brawl to tackle it? And what is Silvio doing, Sophia?
Silvio, I assume, because I've asked him to, is fighting the monster.
Alright, that being the case, continuing trying to decapitate the creature. Go ahead and roll that 6 die pool for me. 7, sorry, you're using melee.
Lucio rolled, by the way.
Yes.
Prowess is still up. That counts for something, right?
Of course. You will be a devastatingly damaging individual. And would you like to spend another superficial willpower to make that roll higher?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Correction, I'll spend it, but I won't make it higher.
Well spent indeed. We like spending willpower. We like giving it, as Deadpool says, maximum effort. And Miriam?
Once I get the car turned on, I'm going to reverse out a little bit, and then I'm going to aim for the individually formerly known as Alexa.
Well now, look at that.
I can't fight. This is all I can do.
You get this, that's fine.
It's fine. It's not like a car's a deadly weapon or anything.
Calm down there, Haley.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your... it's not manual. It is a quick turn, so your physicality in a particular moment. Would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity and drive for me, please?
May as well. 2 successes.
Excellent.
To run a person over.
Yes. 2, 3, 4. Yep, so difficulty of 4. And Hestia, you were challenging it to name itself, correct?
Yeah, she said, why should I wait? Who are you?
Would you be so kind as to roll your manipulation and intimidation? So, several things happen at once, as they tend to in these stressful moments. As Lucio hits Alexa's body, forcing it to the ground, and Silvio's blade slices across the clavicle, just missing the neck but leaving a garish wound. Lucio, Alexia, and Silvio are sent sprawling as the SUV rams through Alexa's body. And the scream that comes from that travesty of violence "Don't kill me again, it's Sylvia!" And the body goes tumbling 5 feet further from you all, end over end, sprawling its vitae covering the ground, its head smacking twice, a third time as it finally comes to a stop, skidding, removing the pale, dead skin of Alexa's corpse from itself. And that is a grand total of far too much damage for the body to be unimpaired. And its left arm hanging literally by the fractured tip of one of the bones in the forearm. It's all across its chest. It's just riddled with road rash, and the blade marking Silvio's skill and intention of removing the head from the body. It is a shambling horror of what Alexa once was. What is it that you all do?
So Lucio is just gonna try and bear hug it so that it can't keep killing everything. And upon hearing what it said, he's gonna shout to to Silvio, "Wait, don't kill it yet." Just keep it down and bring it back to the others.
Hestia is sufficiently stunned and a bit flabbergasted, and eyebrow goes higher into her hairline. What? How the... Oh, fuck. And then looks at Sophia motioning with her hand like stab. The blade works.
All right, I have my fingers now. What are we doing? Silvio, why is that not dead yet?
It's not supposed to be, it's Sylvia.
No, his name is Silvio, I assure you. I've known him very long.
No, the thing that took over Alexa's body was once a Tremere, and it took Alexa's body.
Okay. No.
So here's the decision you all have. With its impairment and the damage that the body has received, the animating force, some would say the soul, housed within that body has claimed to be Sylvia. It doesn't have the physicality to do much at this point. As hungry and ravenous as its beast is, the overwhelming success and odds of fate working counter to it has left it in a shambling state. It is wretched. It is beyond all sense of non-impaired movement. The question remains, what is it that you all will be doing? Because as Lucio forces the relatively physically weak soul to the ground in its body, the moor's not quite connected clearly, as it kind of jerks and responds from a muscle memory more than anything else. What is it you all were doing? What is it that you all are doing? You are still well beyond the city limits, and you are still with not one corpse, but potentially two.
I will put the car in park and open the door or roll the window down. It's like, is it safe?
If we throw the body slash thing that is Sylvia Alexa into the trunk, would it be okay to not get out for a while?
That's a good question. What is it that you would like to do?
I would like to throw it in the trunk. Because we have to figure out if it's really Sylvia for real.
I am in need of a sandwich bag. We should take these bodies. There may be more to harvest from them.
Okay, but can we go? Because we should go. And
I am voting to go.
The hatch so that they can throw bodies in the back.
So, Leo, we are leaving now.
Sure thing.
Stop playing with your new friend. We are going to leave.
Hestia will definitely hold out her hand for the blade.
I will lick the blood off of it and then give it back.
Mildly cringe, but takes it anyway. And as we rest the thing that might be Sylvia into the space in the back, I am going to attempt to stake it for now.
Damaged and weakened as it is, ain't a quick. What are you going to stake it with, your blade?
Smaller blade, not the not the spirit blade, because the spirit blade would definitely kill it.
Quick question. Does only wood work to stake a kindred?
You haven't tried anything else?
Let's just use wood to be safe.
Where are we getting wood at? You got wood?
You said it yourself. There's a tree.
So Lucio literally walks over and produces his wood so that Hestia can stake the corpse.
Why do you have to say it like that?
Crazy.
And nearly playing along with the rules of our home version of the game.
Okay, it's all fine.
So tearing a few branches off of the tree, finding one that is actually usable long enough to impale the corpse in the trunk. It was an easy matter entirely. Lucio strength, the tree is no match whatsoever. The staking equally so, because the craven soul inside of the corpse inside of your trunk is in fact just that, craven. It knows what the other side is like. It knows that anything is better than that, including the absence of everything and the awareness of everything that comes from torpor. As you all slam the trunk down into place, some of you covered in the natural accumulation of dust of having been tumbled, tossed, and otherwise
run over.
Yes. By friendly fire, by enemy fire, and by circumstance. There is a less than ideal situation before you all. You have two corpses in your trunk, one mostly ambulatory and the other a missing person. No matter what you all do, there is the unmistakable reek of a body beginning to decompose that will permeate all too soon. There is very understandingly the fact that you all have done the unthinkable and relatively believed impossible, all in the matter of a few hours of this evening. And the fact that you are in another kindred's domain makes itself known as Felix pulls into the parking lot. His silver Ferrari, it's top down, his hair as well coiffed as always, his luxuriously dark and silken skin almost instinctually at odds with what is believed to be the proper seeming for a Samdi. I didn't know we were supposed to be meeting tonight. There's something I can help you with. As he idles the car, chugging along as only old antique cars can.
No, I believe we are fine. We were in the neighborhood. We had to do a thing. And it is done now.
There's guilt, and then there's a second level much deeper than that. The awkwardness that comes from these gathered kindred with not a word nor thought to share. For a monster as old as Felix, for a monster as socially aware as Felix, it is as clear as day. You all don't seem too well. Perhaps come inside. We can share some news. Allow me to park. And his antique pulls into a nearby slot.
All right, I guess we are visiting now.
No. Let's go, please. please. I can't. No.
Well, see, there is the problem. I can't not now. It is a minor inconvenience to prevent a greater inconvenience later.
No, Decibel.
He steps out of his vehicle, locks the door, manually, slipping the keys into his pocket.
I'm taking it that Silvio is back behind the wheel.
Miriam's behind the wheel.
Oh, Miriam's not.
I have not
then,
moved.
What's in front of us?
The way that Miriam drives doesn't matter.
This is the most violent thing you've ever seen her do. Run people over.
Well, if there's nothing quite in front of us, Hestia is going to dive for the gas pedal and throw her body against it.
I mean, I did put it in park.
The car lurches, as only cars can when there is a go button pushed with the parking brake engaged. There's a rocking of it back and forth as the engine idles very, very high. It is, anyone who has dealt with a vehicle knows what that sound is. You were saved by the vehicle being in park and the car simply idling versus it lurching forward and tearing through whatever lies in front of it, which at this point is, well, Felix crossing over to direct you all into a parking spot. Perhaps you should engage reverse and back into the space behind you.
Miriam will nod and kind of nudge Hestia over. Or
Fumbling for the what do you call it? The thing that shifts? The shifter. She is fumbling for the ship.
alternatively, if you want to take care of your family business, I can drive Hestia home. And come back and pick you up.
I mean, I'm sure it will not take long. We can all attend to business and then go attend to other business.
Hestia has mostly kept her cool up until this point, but the look she gives Sophia at that moment, there might as well be like napalm in her eyes glaring at Sophia. I have to go.
Fine, go do your thing.
And as the limousine pulls off with two corpses in the trunk and two corpses inside the vehicle cabin, leaving Silvio, Sophia, and Lucio in the company of Felix. It is 44 after the hour. Let's take a quick 10-minute here, and we shall return post-haste. How we doing, folks?
I'm here.
We're here.
Present.
I'm back.
Right. So, with the dissolution of the moment, with the denouement of the death that has brought us all here and now, Miriam and Hestia driving away, there's no small realization that if things get hairy, if things get dangerous, if things get even a little bit testy, you all are without an Uber, without a Lyft, well behind enemy lines. Because as every kindred who operates in the city knows, 7900 South is the unofficial demarcation as to the end of Chicago as far as kindred are concerned. South of 7900, south of 79th Street, is the no man's land of the South. It is the beginning of the end of all order. It is, well, whatever happens out there tends to happen out there as far as the rest of the kindred of the city are concerned. And you all are considerably farther south than that. You are actually outside the bounds of the geographical border of Chicago. You are well within the domain of Dalton, or as some are beginning to call the area the Thornton Township. A kingdom unto itself, independent of either sect, Anarchs, Sabbat, or the Tower. And as that dark, classically lined vehicle makes its way out of the parking lot, down the street, and out of view, you all are well within someone else's domain at their behest. And Felix smiles lightly. Shall we go inside?
Certainly.
I'm not quite sure what all of that was about. It seemed rather tense. Your small friend needing to leave. I hope all is well.
Don't we all?
We do, my dear cousin. That is what the Rossellini are, correct? Our cousins, members of our family.
Of course.
And as you all enter the church, its decor, as grand as it once was, there isn't a service currently. There aren't pews lined with the worshipful and the worshiping. The church, when you last were here, was a sanctuary, and that was just the other night. But it's empty, candlelit at best. The lights aren't really actually on. The dimness of the environment causing shadows to shift and move. And as a family member, and having a business arrangement, you wouldn't ever willingly put our business at risk, correct?
Of course not.
Yes, that is quite good. Your last visit, just a few nights ago, came at one of the worst moments for us. We were attempting to keep a brave face and put the hospitable into hospitality. And as you know, that hospitable has a similar root, but is completely different than hospitality. But we tried to make it work. The extra B that was mysteriously part of hospitable, not having a place in hospitality, but still invisibly there somehow. After all, you know how bees are, getting in the way, making a muck of things. I must thank you on behalf of you and myself for helping us make connections with Decibel. We spoke with him. unfortunately, it didn't end the way that we had hoped.
It's traumatic, you know. They're very traumatic.
Yes. Well, I don't like suspense. Do you like suspense, young sir? He says, looking at you, Lucio, purposely ignoring Silvio in the moment.
I do not. So,
Neither do I.
please, enlighten me.
Oh, I think that is necessary at this point. And he raises his right hand, and doing the shadows fade. The light brightens. The pews still empty, but the church taking on a cold feeling with all of the brightness, none of the warm glow of the barely there candlelight that permeated. The shadows still moving and slithering across the corners of the ceiling. He moves to the altar, to the pulpit, and he stands leaning on a lectern there for a second. Normally we would be doing this in the office. Normally we would have a full congregation. But it's amazing for things that have the rest of forever ahead of them, how much of that time is meaningless. How much does immortality mean? How much is it words? And as anyone's guess, it varies. Like, we have done quite a lot in the few generations we have existed here in Dalton, serving the former Dom of Dalton. I'm not sure if you all had the pleasure of meeting Geneva, a singular entity able to see, well, a lot, clearly not enough. Otherwise, they would still be here. And we able to see a lot, but clearly not enough, or view would still be here. It seems as if when we lost our sanctity, when we lost the protections of this place as center stone to our network, we were beset. We were set upon. We were a little desperate in our need to speak with Decibel because the wards, our protections, our walls, the walls of Jericho, if you will, that protected us, that granted us the ability to tap into our little god machine, our little piece of, well, safety. We didn't realize how much we were exposed. We didn't realize how much we were at the whim of those around us, both physically and otherwise. We had no clue in those innocent days, just a few days ago. And we know that you, cousin, would not put us at risk, even for the game. Yet, and yet. So, I invited you all in so I could impart to you. View is no longer amongst us. And I, because of whomever, and he pauses, looking at Lucio, and then Sophia, caused our walls of Jericho to come tumbling down. And now beholden to a dragon who takes the entirety of the domain as his. Beholden. We hoped to negotiate a few future for Dalton. We hope to ensure that what is ours remained ours. We didn't know the value then, in those innocent times, days before of this place.
So your problem is with the dragon, then?
Oh, no. Why treat a symptom when you can treat the cause? In direct violation of our peace and our armistice amongst our family, Miss Rossellini and your associates. 1 + 1 cannot be anything more than 2. Do you take me for a fool?
I do not understand why you think I would take you for a fool.
We could have worked out something. We would have shared. We were not in a position of desperation. We were not in a position to do much more than negotiate, to find a peaceful middle road between us.
Why did you not call me?
Because we asked you. We asked you directly. Were you all responsible for the sundering of our wards? And we believed you, as was our responsibility as host. And because of our belief in you, we are not a we any longer. We are simply I, me, few, nothing more than ash in the wind. And now you realize why he established a distance between himself and you. Why he moved to the lectern. Why he moved into the pulpit, placing himself far enough away. His fingers moving along the edges of the lectern, the magic being called forth. And as a trickle of vitae-tinged tears begins exiting his left eye, you realize that there was some final component sealing the circle in which you all are now standing. And as you begin to take on what that may or may not mean, leaving Dalton, crossing into Chicago, is literally like crossing an invisible boundary. You are able to breathe again. You are able to understand that you are nearly home, because no matter where you are in Chicago, if you can't get there in 30 minutes, you try not to go. And you know that straight down the expressway, you can hop onto Lakeshore Drive and so take that up and around. And while you normally avoid the expressway, while Silvio, much the same, normally avoids the expressway. It is by far the quickest on-surface way to move from one end of the city to the next. You're able to traverse the distance between the south suburbs and the northern climes of the Haven quickly. And as that pressure, that panic attack, that exertion of will begins to relax, like a muscle you didn't realize was clenched, you are alone in the car with Miriam, with 2 bodies in your trunk, one of which claims to be Sylvia. What is going through you all's mind?
Well, this has been a fascinating night. I don't want to do it again.
This is kind of looking at Miriam a little bit guiltily, but I don't like having left him. I don't feel like it's gonna go well. Every time we split the party, it always ends up bad. But I couldn't stay. It was like my skin was crawling off my body, and I knew there was something wrong. Like, we had to leave, and if she didn't want to listen to me, she said she had to stay. And now I think something's something bad, but at the same time, I can't go back. I can't go back. I need to be away from there, okay? Away. We need to figure out what's going on, but I need to get rid of the one body, and fuck, Sylvia stole Alexis' body, and that's not good.
Who's Sylvia?
Basically, she was kind of a mentor at one point, slightly higher ranking than me in the Tremere Chantry, but then she tried to trick me and steal the shelter from me and attempted to kill me, and I held a grudge. And when Dizzy was around, she found out about it. And Sylvia also did some stuff that caused harm personally to Dizzy, and then Dizzy finally snapped and killed Sylvia. We had to cover it up. Then she's back. I think maybe she's saying it's Sylvia, and I don't know if I entirely believe that, but it's possible because Sylvia was really, really good at working with spirits. So there is a very good chance that's Sylvia.
All right then. So what do we do about that?
I don't know anything right now. Oh God, this is all my fault. Life is falling apart right now. Yeah.
I'm sure you've been through worse.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there was the whole my sire getting set fire to the house while we were both in it, and I was new to being what we are, and that sucked. That really, really sucked. But it's nowhere near what the fuck is going on right now.
So think through it one step at a time. What can we do right now?
Okay, need a minute. And Hestia goes into what she likes to call study mode, but it was what helped her get through college, where she was like cramming for tests and stuff. She's taking all the information and human computering it in her head, trying to like sort it and come up with an answer.
As you drive, Miriam, your experience as a doctor hasn't really helped you all that much when dealing with kindred, because the mystical energies that keep them ambulatory, that keep your bodies ambulatory beyond death, defy standard medicinal knowledge. There's no way that it should be as it is. There's no scientific basis for what you all are. Yet, looking at the damage tissue across Hestia's body, what's visible, and scuff marks and ding marks from the clothing, there's no way that there's not some internal damage, something broken, something mangled, parts that are not quite where they should be. While kindred are not privy normally to stress, it wouldn't be far removed from possibility or probability that in some state that Hestia may be impaired or suffering from shock.
I will let her ramble for a couple of moments, and then as we pull into the parking garage, assuming we're going to the parking garage or the little tunnel in the back that's easy to get in and out of without people seeing, I will stop her, and before we do anything, I'm going to look her over, and possibly pop a joint back into place, whatever, and just like make her breathe, like concentrate on breathing. We don't need to, but it's relaxing.
Does it help?
Mentally, you didn't realize that your joint was dislocated in the incidents that happened, namely you and Lucio tumbling eye to eye as the concrete rose up and smacked you all several times, where the tangle of limbs caused a small tearing of the muscles. But you don't need muscles, and not in the way that most people think of. You're dead. You don't. And then the crack and the pop, and maybe you do. Maybe a little care and consideration for the house that inhabits what is left of you should be in order. Because, and would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence plus blood sorcery? You were at ground zero. You were in the eye of a storm. But there are mystical entities, people who are knowledgeable and aware of such things, that much like storm chasers, follow such occurrences, especially if they're nearby, if they're in the area. You didn't see many other vehicles in the parking lot. The sheer output of a death is enough to attract spirits from all the way across the county. An innocent sacrifice, because it is so much more than death. Sacrificing an innocent is clear across several counties. That energy released, if not completely captured, if not 100% focused, can be siphoned to all sorts of ends. You all killed an innocent, and in the few minutes, turns later, Felix was arriving. And while you met Felix in view separately, your instinctual understanding of what they were was one soul in two bodies, which means if there was one, there should have been the other. Yet, in all of that time, in you setting off a thermonuclear device in their circle of protection against all things on their consecrated ground. In their domain, only one of them showed up. No one stuck their head out the door of the church. There weren't any other cars present. And you set off a thermonuclear device, a spiritual bomb, if you will, by sacrificing an innocent. That should have had all persons nearby come running to try to put out the fire or to try to siphon off energy to otherwise help their surroundings, because normally doing so would have torn things, would have stretched things, would have... Wait a minute, when you did it the last time, they both appeared. One because you was expecting you, and the other one came running. And they asked, you wouldn't be responsible for that, would you? And you all said no. So as Hestia takes a far-off look into the middle space, what is going on with Miriam?
He is simply going to watch Hestia for a moment and make sure that she's back on track, and then start doing what she can to unload the bodies.
18 years on this planet is no time at all. And knowing that you were incidentally responsible before and after changes what it's like to move that lump of meat. Changes what it's like, because there is no way to properly account for that semblance of guilt. You planned and helped execute an honest innocent. And looking into the trunk of the car and seeing that body there, lifeless, a small smile still on their lips. It's not the hardest thing you've ever had to do. But as you cipher your memory, as you parse good and bad moments over the course of your existence and over the course of your life, you can't find anything that comes close. There is a living embodiment as to how far you have allowed yourself to fall. And even though you are not a practicing member of the Bahari, one of the many foundations of that faith, because that is in essence what it is, a faith, is to not end a thing that is not a sacrifice to Lilith, to not ruin the garden with heinous bestial actions. Pain should be informative. It should be instructive. And as that weight settles over your unbeating heart, the lesson of that pain is unknown. What is it that taking that innocent life taught you? What did it confer? How was it in service of anything noble? Not good, because such plebeian ideas of good and evil don't really exist, but noble, with purpose, driving towards something. What did it teach you? What could it teach you except for the suffering? It is usually self-inflicted.
Well, this certainly is self-inflicted damage. But ultimately, I think she's learned that there's a darker part of herself that she may otherwise be unwilling to admit to or reveal. And maybe sometimes that darker part is necessary in service to the friendships and loyalties that she has come to have with these people.
Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus composure for me, please?
Hunger die?
Yes. When living, you learn that of the many things used to treat illnesses and maladies, topically, and not near or in the actual open wound, but just for cleaning the area around it, the alcohol was far better than peroxide. You also learn that for every treating and cleansing of an area with alcohol on the exterior, the alcohol interiorly taken administered orally would also cleans the inside. It scours the day, and it doesn't cause a healing of any of those pains or any of those bruises, but it definitely makes it so that the area is clean and you get a moment to decompress. As a member of the dead community, you don't have that option. There's no alcohol that will cleanse the moment so that you can address it later. There's nothing that helps in this particular state. And looking at that course, it is everything that you can do to not have that non-cathartic moment of release. And as the moisture on your cheeks denotes, you have managed to hold it in check, that need, that call, that drive to release those pent up emotions, those unexpressed feelings. And so to keep yourself from staring at the physical reminder of how far you have fallen and how far you are willing to go in support of a cause, whether you believe in it or not, your sense of loyalty, you remove the corpse of Sylvia from the trunk and close the trunk for a moment to give yourself time to think, to give yourself time to really come to grips with this moment. And you don't break down, you don't lose control, your beast doesn't tear from your chest and cause all sorts of harm, though it is a tough fight. And speaking of a tough fight, as the circle closes around you all and the air seems to be sucked from the room, luckily for you all, that breathing is not something that you have to do. At least Sophia doesn't. At least Lucio doesn't. However, Sylvia very much does. And the effort to continue doing so becomes readily available. His breathing is all in his upper respiratories. He's fighting to continue remaining upright. The urge to move to the fore of Sophia is clear, but because of the efforts that are required to continue breathing, it is all he can do to remain upright, and far more than others might in his particular situation. You cost me. Give me a reason why I shouldn't cost you.
Lucio is looking to Sophia. He's basically waiting for her lead here. This is clearly a family matter.
Because you don't want the Castiglions to win.
Would you be so kind as to roll? Are you being genuine or tactical?
awfully tactical.
Thanks. Be so kind as to roll your manipulation and which is most effective for you. It's definitely not intimidation. So it's either persuasion or subterfuge.
All right. Well, that would be subterfuge.
Is a collapse, a falling. It happens almost in slow motion. The strength of him in the face of the adversity that lay ahead, the sheer weight of having to do it alone overwhelms him, and his face breaks like shattering china. The sobs are silent, but the effort is there. The seeming that he's kept about himself, his vitae properly roused to blend in with the mortals around them, allowing the tears to flow freely. And as he hits the ground, his head peeking around the side of the lectern, bobbing up and down with the effort of the shed tears and silent sobs, the circle dissipates. The air returns to the space. And while he was able to hold himself aloft due to the effort of continued breathing, Silvio collapses under the sudden rush of air into the lungs. He collapses under the weight of having withstood that pressure, that death crawling forward inch by inch, second by second, leaving Sophia and Lucio with two kneeling men, one racked with the anguish of what lay before them, the other racked with the effects of that anguish on the living.
Hearing Silvio collapse behind them, he immediately turns around and goes to check if he's okay.
It's the other direction, towards the altar.
The effort of breathing is one that we take for granted. We don't realize how many muscles, how much of our body is actually set to keep resetting the clock of our impending doom. And watching the efforts that the huge muscled back of Silvio is going through to not take in too much air, not take in too little air, fighting with itself to continue living, shows just how markedly different Lucio's current state of existence has been. Just how much time has expired from him dying alone in a place where others, hundreds of others, very lifeblood was taken from them in service to the monsters that he is now party to and part of. Just how far he's come since the need for breathing mattered. He didn't even realize that he stopped breathing. He didn't even realize that the air had become stale with its absence of being replenished and refreshed by the small breeze in the room. It did not, in truth, affect him. And it's hard to not remember what his dying moments were like. He thought he cracked the case. He found where some of the bodies, some of the people were being kidnapped to. He saw the horror that had become their final moments. Each of them alone in the dark, staring across the distance, watching what happens to them happening to another living soul. The empathy that rose in him, the rage, and unfortunately, the impotence of dying alone because he happened to fall into the world of the kindred, because other entities, kindred, were making moves in, around, and on his life. And looking at Silvio, he can't help but think of Arsenio. He can't help but think of Ignacio. He can't help but think of his sister wherever she is in the world, at the behest of monsters such as himself. All across the room, moving to Felix, the pulpit slightly raised as it is, meaning that she is, with him being crouched nearly perfectly at eye level, meaning that she's able to see the anguish on his face, because he literally is missing his other half. Not in the romanticized ideal of, ooh, I found my soulmate, I found the missing pieces of me. No, literally one soul in two bodies. He has watched and experienced his death for the second time, as part of him was blinked out of existence. As he said, view is now ash on the wind.
She will, as already stated, kneel down to his level and look in his eyes and say, find his soul. It may be possible to reimplant it. I will do what I can to reunite you, promise.
The look that flits across his face as he raises his chin and meets your eyes, it's worse than any expression of rage you have witnessed, because there for a quick moment, stabbing right to the heart of him, is the very fleeting and damaging specter of hope.
And having said what she wanted to say, she will stand up and walk away.
And as we walk away, we move back from this moment of death and transference and loss and all of those many things that happens to the kindred, as Hestia comes to grip with what could be manifesting for her coterie members, coming to grips with the reality that she may very well lose additional members of her coterie, as Miriam comes to grip with just how dark things could be and how much farther they have to fall. I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session. I'd like to thank you all for willing to explore and experience this malaise that our coterie is in the middle of. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, all.